coming to you from Jezero crater on the surface of Mars. This is Mr. C.
Well, 7th grade, you know that the helicopter on Mars has a job to do. Keep flying and take pictures of the surface of Mars. And I have a job to do today. It's to get you ready to fly really well for the quiz tomorrow. So that's my job. So if I were you, I'd take out my journal. If I were you, because I'm going to mention all the topics here. Your quiz has been written, so I know exactly what I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to reveal it exactly. I'm just going to say go to the homework notes page in RenWeb for Thursday, and I've got this all laid out. And your homework notes, R for Friday quiz, and then I have the topics, quiz topics. So are you ready to jot down a note or two for yourself? Actually, you wouldn't have to, because they're all right here, but you still might want to. I know I would have. And it never hurts to put one more layer of memory down. Never hurts. Just means your chances of remembering it longer and for the quiz tomorrow are greater. So just throwing that out. Mr. C, can we use a 3x5 card tomorrow? Yes. You may. You can use a 3x5. Okay? So anyway, you've got this quiz, and then I would say maybe not a test next week. We might just review on Monday. So quiz tomorrow, and then a few other things. And then on all next week we'll review for the semester exam. Well, actually on Monday we'll finish up Volcanoes. Probably Tuesday as well. So anyway, here are your quiz topics. Then I'll give you the data on the lake levels. I didn't give you that yet, did I, for May 1st? Because May 1st, the 1st of the month, was last Saturday. So anyway, quiz topics, the 4 layers of the Earth. So crust, mantle, outer core, inner core. Crust, mantle, outer core, inner core. Okay, so number 2. The name volcano is named for the Roman fire god Vulcan. And then you have melted rock that's weird. So there we go. Melted rock that's underground, what do you call it? Magma. So magma, 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 magma. Lava, 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 lava. So magma and lava. Number 5, where are most volcanoes found? Where are they found? They're found where plates come together. What do you call a place on the Earth where plates come together? They're called plate boundaries. That's where we get most of the volcanoes. So why is that? Well, one reason, there's a crack or opening for the magma to come up. So that's one of the reasons. And then here they are. I'm going to tell you the basically 4 motions of plates at the boundaries, at where they meet. There's sideways, translation. Not many volcanoes at those locations. Like the San Andreas Fault, just not many volcanoes at translation plate boundaries. Different story at where plates converge. Different story. Lots of volcanoes where plates converge, where they come together. Sometimes they shove up, and sometimes they shove down underneath. Subduction. A subduction zone. You could get volcanoes at both places. like subduction zone, like Mount Fuji in Japan, or Mount St. Helens off of Washington. Again, a subduction zone. Just reversed which side goes underneath. So anyway, what else? And then, so those are converge. Then you have divergent zones, where there's sea floor spreading under the ocean. And then the magma comes up and has formed a number of the islands of Iceland under the mid-Atlantic Ocean, middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Mid-Atlantic Ridge, magma coming up, forming the islands of Iceland. So those were the four different kinds. Translation, not a place for many volcanoes. Then you've got convergence. Yep. Volcanoes. Divergence. Yep. And one of the kinds of convergence is subduction. Sub, under. One goes under another. So I'm just going over the quiz topics. It's a study guide. So, Mr. C, could we take our 3x5 different facts that we put from the study guide? Sure. Let's see, what else do I have left? Also, another kind of area where volcanoes happen, middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's just where the plate moves over a place where magma comes up. That's called a hot spot. Example is the Big Island of Hawaii, Kilauea. So I've showed you that. Let's see. Then you have the parts of a volcano. So here's a volcano. And you have the parts. So you have the magma chamber underneath, magma chamber, the main vent or pipe, side vents, so magma chamber, pipe or main vent, side vents, the bowl on top, the crater, and then lava flow coming out. So all of that. And then let's see. I've got volcanoes, the kinds of volcanoes by activity. So, and I believe this was your homework, so you'll want to name, date, period this, and pass it in. So, here they are. So, you have volcanoes that haven't erupted in a long time, and won't, most likely won't. They're dead volcanoes. What do we call them? Extinct. X, out of here. They're dead. So dead. Animals that are extinct, they're out of here. No longer living on the earth. So extinct volcanoes no longer erupting. We've got all extinct volcanoes in Arizona. We've got lots of volcanoes in Arizona and the White Mountains, and then around the Flagstaff area. They're all extinct. So then you have volcanoes that haven't erupted lately but could. Dormant. It comes from the Latin dormire, which means to sleep. So sleeping volcanoes that could erupt. Dormant, from the word dormire. Sleep. Dormant. Okay? And then, are you asking these tomorrow? Yes, I am. And then volcanoes that are actually erupting right now. They're active because they're doing something right now. Active volcanoes. Like, for instance, there's a volcano in Iceland that's active, one in Italy that's active, a number of them around the Ring of Fire that are active. So, anyway. Hey, are you passing your homework in? Name, date, period. In it comes your homework tonight, triple R for your quiz. Okay, here are the lake totals. So here they are. The Salt River watershed, doing great. The Verde River watershed to the north, not so great. So right now, Roosevelt Lake is 76% full. So you want to put this down, Roosevelt Lake, 76. So Roosevelt's 3/4 full. The Salt Lakes are 80% full. That's good. But listen to this. The Verde Lakes, 32% full. So the Salt River watershed lakes, 3/4 full. And then the Verde River lakes, 1/3 full, almost. And the total reservoir system, 74%. We are 24% behind last year at this time. Do I think there's any more snow melt up there to come down? Not much. Not much. Do I still hope there could be an unusually late winter storm? You never know. I'm still praying for it. You never know. So, in your journal, Roosevelt Lake at 76%, and then the total reservoir system, 74%. Okay. Then I wanted to show you this. This roller coaster is being made in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This is just a digital version of it. How tall is it going to be? It's going to be the tallest of any made, so it's got to be more than 456 feet high. It's got, I think, 2.5 miles of track. How fast is it going to go? 155 miles an hour. The reason I don't like roller coasters is because of inertia. Here's what inertia is, 7th graders. Inertia is the tendency of an object, once it gets moving, to keep going in that same direction, at the same speed. So if you were on this roller coaster and you were going 155 miles an hour and the track turned, here's why I don't like roller coasters. Because of Newton's first law of motion. He said an object that's moving will tend to keep moving in the same direction at the same whoosh speed. That's what I don't like. So if the track turns, your body is going to try to keep moving that way where there's no track. And you're going to be shoved up against a safety bar. I don't like that. Some of you do. Not moi. I don't care for that. So anyway, this is called Falcons Flight. And it's going to be a fast one and a high one. There's no way you could talk me into going on that. No way. So it's just not going to happen. So anyway, I want to remind you again about the volcanoes, the kinds of volcanoes by activity. If they're erupting right now, what is it? Active. That's an active volcano. It's on the study guide. Then there are ones that are sleeping, from dormir. Dormant, dormant. They're asleep right now, but they could erupt. And then there are ones that are dead. They haven't erupted in thousands of years. The volcanoes in Arizona erupted last over 1,000 years ago. So they're classed as dead, extinct. Okay, those are on the test. So just throwing them out there. Okay, so anyway, now we've got several topics left on volcanoes. We've got to talk about what comes out of a volcano next week, what comes out of them, and then I've got several videos to show you of very explosive volcanoes. Some volcanoes erupt violently, some do not. Why? I'll go over that next week with you. Okay? Now, raise your hand if you'd like to be more creative or have more creativity. Who wouldn't? Now, if you didn't raise your hand, I'm worried about you. I'd like to be more creative. So, now, I try to be creative, and when you're intentional about being creative, that helps. You can be more creative. Now, my daughter Laura is an expert has studied this in depth, creativity. She's going to give you some tips on how to be more creative. Who wouldn't want to be more creative? And then, if we don't have another quiz or test, we'll probably have a quiz next week. We'll have a quiz, not a test. So I'll ask you on next week's quiz, give me 2 or 3 tips that daughter Laura shared with you about how to be more creative, how to develop your creativity. It will bless you. So anyway, in your journal, I'd write down in a section where you've already written stuff like this, just creativity, and then 3 or 4 tips. So, and then I will see you tomorrow to prep you for your quiz on Happy Aloha Friday. See you then. Mr. Phil.
Hi, this is Your Magnificent Brain, Learning with Laura. And this is going to be our final episode that's not a review, final lecture. And I wanted to do it on creativity. Because one, it's something that we hear talked about a lot, and yet we're never really given any instruction on how creativity works unless we seek it out. And I see creativity not as there are creative people and not creative people, but it's instead a skill. And it's a skill that you can work at, almost like a muscle that you can get stronger at with practice and with effort over time. And the reason why I think that's important is creativity is necessary if we want to innovate anything. So basically making something better by thinking outside what's been previously done. And also for problem solving. So when we come up against something that we've never seen before and we have to figure out a way through, creativity can help us with that. So I wanted to start out by giving a story. When I was in my early 20s, I was working in Ayr, Scotland. I had my own apartment there for the time that I was working, and I was basically helping in an office where the account manager who normally works in supporting these accounts was going to be going on vacation. So I was going to be filling in. I arrived, we had the handoff, everything went well, I got settled into my apartment, and then on Saturday, the week that he was going on vacation, I ended up having a shower, and as I was trying to get out of the bathroom, the handle actually snapped off. These doors were of a unique making in that basically it had a deadbolt. So when it was in the closed position, you couldn't get it open any other way than turning the handle. It snapped off. I was stuck in the bathroom, a little bit panicked, looking around for what was with me. I didn't have a phone. I basically just had my facial cleanser, which had a pump. I had shampoo and conditioner, soap. I had a razor, all of kind of the normal bath stuff. And I had to figure out, with this handle broken off, and I attempted many different ways of reattaching it and getting it to turn, and none of those worked. I had to figure out how to basically MacGyver my way out of this bathroom. because no one was going to be checking on me on Monday if I wasn't in the office. So what I did was I took stock, did a lot of deep breathing, took stock of what I had, and I found that actually the tube from my cleanser, from the pump, fit perfectly, which totally was a God thing. But it fit perfectly. I was able to, basically using that and using the handle that broke off, I was able to kind of fit it back together so that enough so I could get it to turn. And what I'd say is creativity is just that type of experience. Often you need it when you need it. You can't necessarily plan for it. And you just have to look at what you have and try to think outside the box of how these things could work together to create a solution. But also taking a deep breath and getting out of your automatic processing about the way you normally think can help you. And so that flows into really our brain processing systems. We have two systems in play. We have the automatic one, the one that can think fast. So, for instance, if someone's driving a car and has to stop quickly, they do so automatically. It may not even be like registering in their brain by the time their body is acting. Our brains are amazing in that it can make assessments so quickly that often before those signals even merge together, all of a sudden we're taking action. And that's great. Those things are important. But when we're trying to be creative, when we're trying to look past what the standard or the normal is, using fast and automatic thinking actually isn't conducive to creative and innovative solutions. So the other system that we have, the first one is fast and automatic response. The second one is slow, and it's logical, and it has kind of a deeper level of thought behind it. And in order to engage that, really you have to kind of disconnect from the quick level of thinking. Often by finding a quiet place that doesn't have a lot of stimuli going on, doing some deep breathing to tell yourself you're in a safe space, that you're able to think creatively, that you're not having to respond quickly or rapidly to stimulus coming at you. So something like, some people like going to a quiet space with not a lot of bright lights, but some people might like going to a place that actually has conversations going on, that they can kind of zone out and focus in on what it is they're doing. So figuring out how best you work creatively is definitely something important. It's something to listen to yourself. It's something to recognize if you're working on a problem and you keep being distracted by different things around you, that's probably not the optimal place to be or the optimal environment for yourself. So just pay attention to that, of how you work best. And then try to experiment with, okay, do I like music in the background with no words? Do I like utter silence? Do I like decent lighting? Do I like kind of more mellow lighting? Figuring out how you work best when you're trying to create. But in addition to that, how we actually create is from the things that our brain already knows, or is seeing, or is hearing about. So we can't create if we're unaware of, and if we don't have any experience with the problem set in which we're working. Often, though, no matter where we go, even if it's a unique problem set in an area that we've never ventured into, we often have experience that we can take from other areas and it will apply, even though we've never experienced this specific area. Life actually allows us to gain a lot of experience, a lot of just ideas for how the world could work, of innovations that we could try, and seeing what other people do, especially what other creative solutions are, can kind of sometimes spark what it is that we're trying to move forward in. So, say that you're interested in getting into a specific field. When you listen to other creative people within that field talk about their solutions, it kind of frees up your mind to both learn, but also start getting an idea of what boundaries could be stretched and what areas could I kind of move into and try out new things. When we create, typically what we do is we do 3 different things with what we already know, with the information that we already have interconnected in our brain. So just random knowledge in our subconscious, moving back and forth, tapping into it. What we do when we create is we either bend what's already there. So, for instance, there's an artist who basically took pictures over a year of this same view, but with different light filters and in different kind of weather conditions. So it's the same view each and every time, but each one is also unique because he did different things with each one. He bent that view in unique and different ways. The next one is breaking. So we can break apart something to find additional meaning. So for instance, Picasso is a great example. His art broke apart all of these different shapes and created new images with those shapes. Ones that we could see what the shapes are, but then when put together they create a different picture. And then lastly is blending. That would be what we would typically call a mashup, when you have 2 songs that are integrated together and all of a sudden you get this new song that has a new profound meaning. That's what blending is. Bringing 2 things together and creating something new out of those things. I talk about it in terms of artistic examples, but this is also what we do when we're creating solutions. We bend what's already there. We break it apart and find new solutions by piecing new things together, or even looking at, okay, can we cut out some steps that aren't necessary? We blend things together by finding something, maybe even from an area that's unconnected with what we're doing, but when we blend it with what we already know, it creates a new solution. So, all of these things about creativity and how it works leads me to, how do we tap into that in a way that really is effective and useful? And one of the best sources of advice that I've seen as I've started to move more into creative fields is actually from Pixar's storytellers. They have 22 tips for writing stories, or 22 rules for story writing. And these 2 rules are actually very effective for any type of creative endeavor, any type of problem solving. And the first one is that you write down everything that it isn't. So basically, if you are trying to solve a problem and all you can find are all the things that aren't solutions, write all of those down, because then you can get the things that don't work out of your mind. It then gets it on paper, you see that it's there, you'll see that it's tried, and you can move on to the things that you need to try next. So make a list of everything it isn't. And the second one is, don't try the first thing or the second thing or the third thing that comes to mind. So basically, make a list and remember that the first really 1 to 5 things you come up with in your list of ideas, of brainstorming, are probably going to be obvious. They're probably not going to be innovative. But once you get down to your 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th idea in how to solve this problem, then you start to really get outside the box. Probably getting into what hasn't been tried yet. You might have some off-the-wall ideas, but the more brainstorming you do beyond that obvious point, the more likely you'll get an innovative solution that can meet your need while also not being something that necessarily has been tried or is potentially outdated as well. And then as I was connecting with all of those ideas of creativity, I kind of remembered that in order to be creative, we do have to put ourselves out there. We have to go outside the box. We have to try different things, which means that we have to be okay with making a mistake or having an idea that not everyone likes or even necessarily thinks is good, and reminding yourself that coming up with ideas that aren't the perfect ones actually is part of that creative generation process. There's not anything wrong with coming up and brainstorming something that isn't the right thing, because it helps you get to what could be the right thing. And then in addition to that, make sure that you even create a safe space for yourself to try, to make those mistakes. Don't shut down ideas. Don't let your inner critic tell you what has value and what doesn't without trying it first. Often we have ideas and we're like, oh, well, that will never work because of this thing and that thing. Be open. See what's possible. Write down things without any type of judgment, without any type of kind of self-editing, and just keep moving forward, and then just see what works. Try things. It's like a research experiment. Keep just trying things with different variables and see what ends up being possible and functional. And I wanted to say that learning how to push through when something gets difficult, when learning how to slow down your thinking, learning how to start to push yourself out of the box, it may take more time and effort and energy, but it will be worth it. It will be a skill that you'll be able to use in many different areas. And as many economists and people in the occupation sectors say, it's one of those skills that's going to be vital in the years to come. I hope that this information was helpful. I've really enjoyed having these times to share some of what I know, and to have these lectures. I will be coming back one more time as a kind of review right before the final. I'll be sharing or reminding you of several things that I think are important and things that you want to remember going forward. But I also personally wanted to challenge you as you go into summer. Try something unique. Try to come up with creative ideas. Try a new hobby. Try to learn something new. Really work on pushing the boundaries of your brain and what you can learn and do. I'd recommend you reconsider what's possible. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you in another 2 weeks.